Hello and welcome to the Daily Mill for Friday the 19th of November 2021. We are back to real football coming up tomorrow and we're going to preview the Middlesbrough game. But before that, we got some stories to read out. So this is from londonnewsonline.co.uk, which is South London Press's online website, and they give a little Gary Rowett's comments on the loan players. So, exciting Millwall loan duo set scoring challenge. Isaac Olofi and Tyler Burry have been challenged to boost their prospect of being in Millwall's first team picture by scoring double figures in League 2 this season. Olofi 20 scored Sutton United's winner on Saturday after his relentless hounding of the Tranmere defence paid off. The Lucian-born striker has 4 goals in 9 appearances for the Yellows. Burry, also 20, had scored 3 times in 7 matches on loan at Hartlepool, but a major hamstring injury is likely to rule him out until around Christmas. I saw Isaac's goal and it was fabulous pressing from the front, said Millwall manager Gary Rowett. It's the sort of thing we speak to our strikers about, to almost give defenders no time on the ball. He has the pace and enthusiasm to want to stop defenders playing out. It was a nice finish as well. Isaac has done really well, as did Tyler when he went out. He gives us 2 young forwards who are both quick and both powerful. We both have got different qualities who could come back into the team next season. Danny McNamara came back in January, and we felt he could go straight into the team, whereas Tanto and Tyler have to bypass 4 or 5 senior strikers to do that. Do you bring them back, give them a chance, but they might potentially not be in the squad? Or do you leave them playing and developing, knowing they'll be a little bit further on in the summer? It's about confidence. Can they go and score double figures? A young mobile striker who scores double figures in League 2, you're always going to give them a chance. Certainly in long term, those 2 are really exciting prospects for our forward line. So there's Gary Rowett saying if you score double figures in League 2, then it means you got a bit about you and you might be half decent in the Championship, so we'll give you a go. Moving on now, this also from the londonnewsonline.uk. It's about Scott Malone. So he's had a little word about what happened in the Derby game, what that was all about. So Mill's Scott Malone on his celebration against Derby and why goal had weighed on his mind. It's a sign of Scott Malone's attacking intent that he was feeling the pressure of not scoring in the Championship this season before the visit of Derby County to the Den, and the 30-year-old has set himself a target of at least matching the 6 goals he netted in the 2020-21 campaign. Malone and Mason Bennett had been barracked by the travelling Ram supporters, so when the former fired past Kel Roos, it led to a cup-tier celebration in front of the North Stand. They were giving me a bit of stick, which is fair enough, and then I scored, said Malone, who played 56 times for Derby before sealing a return to SC16 in August 2020. I thoroughly enjoyed my time there. I was part of the playoff final squad, but it's football, isn't it? You take a bit and you give a bit. I did enjoy it. It was more the excitement of actually scoring a goal and getting off the mark in the league. There isn't any extra motivation playing against a former club. I've had so many that it feels like I'm doing that every other week. You prepare the same. You don't think definitely it's just another game. I needed to get off the mark. I'd scored in the cup against Bournemouth, but getting one in the league was something I needed to do. I played 14 games in the league without a goal. I wouldn't say it was worrying me, but it's always in the back of your mind. I'll target 6 again like I did last season. That's the target. Everything I hit last season seemed to go in. This time I've had a lot of shots and none of them have gone in. The keeper was saving them or I was missing the target. Funnily enough, I did a little bit of work on the Friday after training, only 6 or 7 balls, just to try and get the feel of hitting the target again. The longer the wait goes on, the more you start rushing. Strikers say that the longer you go without a goal, it gets on top of you. Derby boss Wayne Rooney felt Roos could have done better to stop Malone's strike. I went across the keeper, which is something I talked about doing on Friday, responded the Millwall man. I did everything I should have done. It did dip a little bit under him. Could he have saved it? I don't know. Maybe, just with how clean I've struck it. I've got my rewards for it. Millwall are pitched back into the Championship slog tomorrow. The Lions make the long trip north to face Middlesbrough under new management after Chris Wilder's appointment before a home fixture against Championship leaders Bournemouth on Wednesday. We've had a few days off and then a few days in again, so we still got a nice bit of work done, said Malone. You can't have too long off. If you stop for too long, then it can be a bit hard to get going again. It's important to keep ticking over. The blocks in between The blocks in between the international breaks see you go Saturday, Tuesday all the time. It's pretty full on now, but everyone in our changing room has been in the Championship a long time and knows what is coming. The last time that Millwall won on Teesside was April 2014, thanks to a Stephen Meyer off a double. Wow, blimey! Who remembers him? So 7 years ago, 7 years ago. Since then, they have taken 2 points from a possible 15 on their trips to the Riverside Stadium. That is not good. Wilder has a match-free fortnight to prep his troops. Every team that gets taken over has a little bit of something about them, said Malone. Everyone will want to impress him. He will probably have new ideas about the way he wants to play. I'm sure he will be different to what Warnock was doing. They've had a couple of weeks to work on it. There was a little bit of unknown going into the game in terms of what he's going to do, but we've been good away from home and it will concentrate on what we need to do. We'll go there full of confidence. Mill will have 25 points on the board, their best return after 17 matches since promotion back to this level in 2017. That's an improvement on 2020 with 21 points, 2019 with 24 points, 2017 with 16 points, and 2017 with 18 points. We need to add to that, said Malone. There's no point saying this is the best start we've had in X amount of years. We need to build on it. We're in a good position, still in and around the playoff positions and only 5 points off fourth. Malone's performances on loan for Bournemouth saw him make a permanent switch from Wolves in 2012. That was the loan I'd say I really developed and started playing my best football, said Malone. I'd scored quite a few goals for them and played left me a quiet bit. Scotty Parker has done a great job. To only lose one league game speaks for itself. They're in frightening form, but they are coming to Den. It should be a really good game. So they added a little bit of comment from him about the Bournemouth game coming up next week on Wednesday. So had a little chat with Scott Malone and a lot going on there. Moving on now to more comments from Gary Rowett. So this is from news@den.co.uk. You have to be aware of it. Mill boss on what Lions could face against Middlesbrough. So Mill boss Gary Rowett knows his players have to be wary of their opponents Middlesbrough, potentially getting a new manager bounce at the Riverside Stadium on Saturday. Borough are playing their first game under Chris Wilder after the former Sheffield United manager took over from Neil Warnock on Teesside at the start of the international break. It is the second time this season the Lions will face a side with a manager taking charge of his first game. Steve Cooper had replaced Chris Hughton when Millwall went to the City Ground to face Nottingham Forest in September. Forest immediately improved and stopped a run of 4 consecutive home defeats in the league from the start of the campaign as they came from behind to draw 1-1. There have been 4 managerial changes in the Championship this season. In his first game in charge, former Millwall striker Steve Morrison's Cardiff came from 3 goals down to earn a 3-3 draw at Stoke to end the club record run of 8 league defeats in a row. And Joseph Lawman at Barnsley led his team to a first win in 14 matches when they defeated Derby 2-1. So how's our luck? How is our luck when we are playing 2 teams in the first game of the new manager, Nottingham Forest and Middlesbrough? How is our luck? Blimey. Both of those were caretaker roles. Morrison has since been named full-time manager of the Bluebirds and Tykes have appointed Poya Hashbagi. Wilder Sheffield United played with a high-energy attacking style with the novelty of a wide centre-backs in a 3-5-2 system, often overlapping the wing-backs. I think you always have to be aware of it, Rowett said when asked if he and his players are more on guard against a new side with a new manager. It makes it a lot more difficult to prepare for because you would normally watch the previous 5 or 6 games and start to see patterns. What it does is it means the last 5 or 6 games are relatively obsolete. Chris played in a quite distinct way at Sheffield United. He might go down that route or he might do something completely different. Who knows? It's very difficult work all week on a style of play. The rest they might do something completely different. We focus on ourselves but try to predict 1 or 2 things that they might do. We have to focus on what we do and accept that there is going to be energy to the stadium. There's going to be a desire from the players to prove that they deserve to start. You would expect an improved performance from Middlesbrough. We saw that against Forest, but we navigated it pretty well. It will be pretty similar, but it makes it more unpredictable for us to prepare. Indeed, indeed. Moving on now to this from londonnewsonline.co.uk. Millwall boss Gary Rowett has a selection issue for Borough, but not in a bad way. Millwall manager Gary Rowett is facing a tricky selection call for tomorrow's trip to Middlesbrough. The Lions are pretty much at full strength for Teesside fixture, although midfielder Billy Mitchell missed some sessions said this week with a tight hip flexor. Murray Wallace and Dan Bowler are both troubled by knee niggles while due to train yesterday. We're in a good place, and that's going to make picking a squad incredibly hard, said Rowett. If people are in 18, they feel like they are part of it. If you're not, it can feel like the end of the world. Realistically, I can only pick 18 out of 23 or 24 very good players who all probably deserve to be involved. That is part of the challenge of being a manager, but I'd rather be in that position of a strong squad to choose from. It gives us those options. So, if we get a bad result up there, I don't want to hear Gary Rowett complain about injuries, which he does quite often. You got no... Though he'll probably complain about the new manager situation that we're facing, so he's got some excuses in his pocket if we shit the bed tomorrow. Middlesbrough versus Millwall. This is the preview from the official site, millwallfc.co.uk. Millwall returns to Sky Bet Championship action on Saturday. Blah 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 blah. The fitness of Murray Wallace, George Evans and Billy Mitchell will be assessed prior to kick-off, while Sean Hutchinson should return to the squad following his absence against the Rams due to a diarrhea illness. Everyone else is available to rout, with the likes of Danny McNamara, Shay Ojo, Matt Smith and Tom Bradshaw pushing for starts should the boss opt to change his 11 from last time out. Indeed. And you can listen to it on iFollow. If you're an annual subscriber, you can listen to it. If you're not, you can just get a regular account and then pay for a match pass, which I think is like a couple of quid or something. There you go. So Middlesbrough game is coming up. Like they said in the South London preview, we haven't done that well up there in recent years. So the history of the fixture: Middlesbrough versus Millwall. So we didn't play them in the league until 1929. Before that, we played them a couple of times in the cup. We had one trip up there in 1913 to play them in the FA Cup, and that was a 4-1 defeat. We played them in 1929 in the league, and we lost 3-0 up there. And we didn't play them again in the league until 1967. We played them quite often in the cup. But you can see here, look at this, from 1969 all the way to 1994. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 games in a row spanning all those years from 1969 to 1994. 13 games we did not win on our away trip to Middlesbrough. The best was a 1-1 draw in August 1987. 13 games, no win. That's the hoodoo of hoodoo sides. Absolute poor. And then, so obviously we played them quite regularly until the 1990s, because what happened in the 1990s, they got took over. The chairman come in, he invested in them, got them a new stadium. They moved from Ayrton Park to Riverside Stadium. They got some investment in the team. They had Juninho, Ravanelli, players like that. They got into Premier League. So we didn't play them from 1994 until 2010, because they kind of fell out of favour. They've been slumming it in this league ever since. I think did they have one season up? I don't know. So 1990s and 2000s they were in the Premier League mostly, and we won. In 2010 we met again, because we came up into the Championship and they came down to the things, and that was when we won. 1-0 win. First win since 1967, and only the second ever Millwall win up at Middlesbrough. Only the second ever Millwall win. It took from 1913 all the way to 2010. That is nearly 100 years Nearly 100 years. Friggin' hell. And it was four or four decent results in a row after that. 2011 we drew 1-1. 2013 we beat them 2-1. 2014 we beat them 2-1 again. Then we lost with 2 times in a row without scoring a goal. 3-0 in 2015, 2-0 in 2018, and then a couple of draws, and then another 3-0 defeat that was really, really poor, and had a lot of people questioning Gary Rowett. So before that, it was no one really did, but then that performance was so abject in December 2020, almost coming up to nearly a whole year ago, that people started pointing fingers at Gary Rowett, saying, "What's happening here? How can you play really well one week, get a decent result, and then do this, get battered 3-0?" But so going through the years, 3-0 does seem to be quite a regular result over the years of losing 3-0. Like I say, we haven't won there since 2014. We've only had 5 wins up there. 1 in 1967, and then 3 in the 2010s. So doesn't seem to be going in our favour. It is a long old way up there from the southeast of England up to Middlesbrough. But should be doing better than that. Especially as the situation as it stands now. So there's the history of the fixture. So we're going to move on now to skysports.com. David Prutton, what does he predict? He's got his finger on the pulse. He's talking to people around the league. He knows all the players and whatnot. So what's happening here? So let's have a look. So where is our game? I imagine it's probably right down the bottom. Where are we going? Yeah, here we go. So he predicts Middlesbrough 2, Millwall 1. So he's going with the history. Thinks we'll get a goal. Have we had many 2-1 defeats up there? Not too many. A couple. 2-1 has been a score twice in the league and once in the cup. So not a overtly regular scoreline, but he reckons Middlesbrough 2, Millwall 1. So let's move on to this from whoscored.com. More of the most recent stats. You can see here how abject we have been quite recently. So 2 goals in the last 5 trips to Middlesbrough from Millwall, but in the last 6, 4 goals to 11. 11 goals from Middlesbrough, 4 for Millwall over 6 games. 3 wins for them, 2 draws and 1 win for us. So that's the most recent history skewed as well. Match facts, there have been under 2.5 goals scored in 10 of Millwall's last 12 games. So not a high scoring game. There have been under 2.5 goals scored in 8 of Middlesbrough's last 9 games. So we don't score a lot of goals, and we stop our opposition scoring a lot of goals. In Middlesbrough don't score a lot of goals, and they stop the opposition scoring a lot of goals. So does that mean, you would think, not going to be a lot of goals tomorrow? Middlesbrough are undefeated in their last 5 home matches against Millwall in all competitions. Yeah, we can see that. Yeah. So here's the table as it stands. Millwall in 9th, 25 points, but there's only 3 points difference. And Middlesbrough are in 14th. We've drawn 7, they've drawn 4. We've lost 4, they've lost 7. They've only scored 2 more goals than us, and they've only conceded 2 more goals than us. They have a goal difference of 0, just like us. So what about the form table? They're above us in the form table. Even with their poor results, they got the manager fired. They're above us in the Oh no, we're on the same points. It's just on goal difference. So over the last 6 games, we've had the same results: three wins, 1 draw, 2 defeats. They've scored 8 goals and let in 6. We've only scored 6 goals and let in 6. It's pretty even teams. So hopefully the history of them heavily beating us shouldn't be repeated here. Because right at the moment, in the form is we're basically identical. So here's the last 6 home games for Middlesbrough, the last 6 away games for Millwall. So the last game was the Huddersfield defeat. That was absolutely fucking abysmal. We had 4 shots all game. I think 2 on target. Yeah. The Sheffield United game, we scored 2 goals and won that, but they did have a player sent off. That was a midweek game as well. So I don't know if that gets into it. We only scored 1 goal in each of the Barnsley, the Forest, and the West Brom games, and we didn't score against Swansea, but we didn't concede either. And we kept a clean sheet against Barnsley. But against Swansea and Barnsley, we kept clean sheets, but in all the other games, we conceded at least 1 goal. Okay. But Middlesbrough, so their last home game, they lost 2-0 to Birmingham, which is probably what got the geezer fired, Neil Warnock. Before that, they had won their 3 home matches, all 2-0 against Sheffield United, Peterborough and Barnsley. So 3 clean sheets in a row, scoring more than 1 goal, 2-2-2. Before that, they lost to Blackpool at home. Now that would have been shocking, because Blackpool ain't all that. And they lost 2-1. And they drew in a game that had a 1-1. They drew 1-1 with Blackburn in a game that had a player sent off for each team, which is interesting. So here's the strengths and weaknesses for each team and the styles. I'm not going to go through them all, but you can see Middlesbrough have more weaknesses than Millwall. Interesting. So the match forecast: Millwall will score from a direct free kick. Is very likely. Okay. Moving on now to this, also from whoscored.com. It's their prediction. What do they predict? We've seen a prediction from David Pruttons of Sky of 2-1 to Middlesbrough. But what are we going to see out of Middlesbrough? There have been under 2.5 goals scored in 10 of Mill's last 12 games. Yeah, we've seen that. Their prediction: Josh Coburn's first half striker and Middlesbrough a respectable point against promotion contenders West Brom last time out, but that draw spelt the end of Warnock's tenure as manager. Chris Wilder comes into the club looking to replicate the heroics that got Sheffield United promoted from this level. Left back Scott Malone notched against his former club 2 weeks ago as Millwall came from behind to claim a point against the Derby side. But they have now been deducted a further 9 points. The Lions have claimed 10 points from their last 5 league games. So 10 points from 15. Interesting. Can we keep it going, or are we gonna on the bubble? They predict Middlesbrough 1, Millwall 1, which is interesting because that's the same result that we got against Nottingham Forest. Now I'd imagine like the players will want to impress, but I imagine the manager's not going to go gung ho. He's just it's going to be like not like a friendly game, but like an exhibition game. He's going to try and see what the players can do, what he's got to work with. I don't think he can start dictating. You go gung ho. You do this. You do this. You do that. Although he has had a bit of extra time because of the international break, but I don't think he's going to be able to do that. So I'm sure he'll be happy to get a point, even though it's Millwall at home and they have an amazing record against Millwall at home. But we will see. Now their defence apparently isn't all that. And we've got pretty much a full team to choose from. So, that said, if we repeat the way we played against Huddersfield, playing a lone striker up front, isolated, without anyone to support him. We are going to get... we're not going to score. So... I think it's going to be Middlesbrough 0, Millwall 0. I think it's going to be 0-0. I think we've got enough about us to keep a clean sheet against them. But I'm not sure we're going to have enough to score a goal. So I'm going for 0-0. I think it will be a draw. So either 0-0 or 1-1, but I'll say 0-0. So there you go. That is it. Middlesbrough game previewed. Done and done. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.